My name's Fred Hofman from Sutton, Nebraska. We have 2,500 acres of irrigated corn. We were introduced to Genesis Ag in 2017 for the first time. We just come across it on the internet and started looking at their products, and just it slowly evolved from there. We've been using more and more of their products, all the time. It's been a bit of a learning curve because the results we've seen have not only been just directly from the products we use, but from the education they provided in terms of doing things different with our planter, different ways of applying nitrogen, different timing on different things, so it's come from a multiple facet of things, not just one particular item. They're never standing still. They're not a one or two product company. They're constantly evolving. If they can find something better to work the following year, they come out with it. They don't just stay stagnant and try to beat the same product into year after year after year after year. If they have something better, we move on. My experience in ag has been it seems like it's the same philosophy, the same thing. It's almost like everyone was taught the same thing out of the same book, and they've been doing it for year after year after year after year. First of all, I probably had to unlearn everything I've been taught for the last 30, 35 years, because it's a whole different way of farming, a whole different way of looking at raising whatever crop you're producing. So it takes time. It takes time, and you have to. There is a bit of a leap of faith, because you're doing things that you completely different than what you've done your entire life farming. The thing that sticks in my mind is when Phil shows them ears where you may take out 1/1000th of an acre, and some of them will be 14 rows around, 30 long, but then you also have some that are 20 rows around and maybe 40, 41, 42 long. And the thing is, you got the identical input costs on all them ears. Why can't they all be the size of that big one? It does not. That's something that it's just an eye-opening when somebody points that out to you. We wonder when you see some of these NCGA yields, well, how do they do that? Well, to pay attention to all the little itty-bitty details, and until I was with Genesis Ag, them have never been pointed out to me, and I've never thought about that. So that's, just that alone has been a big help, just to take a look at individual plants rather than just taking a look at the whole field. That each individual plant is either going to add or subtract to your final yield. So that's a big component. Well, if they're going to go NPK, they're going to continue to get the same results. I mean, everyone's tried it. If NPK was the answer, we would have broken the world record 40 years ago. We would have been to 300, 400, 500 bushel level 40 years ago, if that was the answer. Obviously it isn't. It's something else. And that's what I think I'm finding out from Genesis Ag. They're showing me what the something else actually is. What we noticed, and since we've been incorporating some of the products both from Fulcrum and from Genesis Ag, is that we're seeing more uniformity, and obviously you can't see across the whole field, but we got a number of fields where you can look from the road and you can see hillsides, and we had some that looked awful tough sometimes, and it showed up when we come across with a yield monitor where it was yielding maybe not even 50% of the rest of what the rest of the field was. And now we're getting a lot of places that are 85, almost 90% of what the rest of the field is yielding, and depending upon how much of that you have in your field, that's a big deal. Well, you know, as everybody knows, the margins are really, really tight in farming, and I don't see them getting any better in the near future. So you're trying to make more with what you have. And what I liked about Genesis Ag is that they give me a whole bunch of different new ideas, different paths, different things we can try to go ahead and become more profitable in the future and stay in business, because it's not just in ag, but if you take a look at all other industries, a lot of times it's the guy with the deepest pocket's going to win in the end. And I think Genesis Ag, I feel like I got a fighting chance to compete with those who've got a lot deeper pockets than what I've got. What I feel is taking place is that I understand what's going on, you know, both below and above ground, and I'm starting to understand how the microbes interact with the plant in general, and it's something that's never ever been taught to me anywhere else. You know, definitely not by any other retailer out there, but you know, they're just teaching me how. Yeah, for corn, for example, you know, how that interacts. Well, you know, what are the components of yield and how a person can influence them, and it's a lot different than what I've been taught, you know, for the 40 years of farming that I've been doing. Oh, I love it. It's you're talking to people who know what they're talking about. A lot of times you'll go talk to somebody where you found out he had a different job the year before, or he's going to be on a different job a year from now, and you're talking to a completely different person that's not really that familiar with what their products are. But it's the people from Genesis Ag, if they can't find you an answer, they put you in touch with somebody who knows it, and you can go all the way to the owner of the company and talk to him if you need to, and he's more than willing to help you out. It was generally plan it and forget it type of an attitude, where now you're watching that plant, you know, grow up from the time you plant it to the end, and not just plant and just cross your finger, hope things go correctly. But now you're saying, okay, I'm at a certain stage, I can maybe influence a thing, you know, at this stage, versus just hoping that it all turns out in the end. Or when you get a harvest time, you realize, oh, I should have done this differently, and I could have influenced my mistakes, and I feel like I can correct things the following year. But before, I just felt stuck, like I'm going to have to do the same thing over and just hope that it turns out in the end. But now I feel like I can make changes if things don't turn out the way I want for a particular year. I know, at least have a pretty good idea what I need to change next year, or at least try.